Education is the key to a bright future.
Hello, this is Bridget, founder of empowermefirst.college. I am happy to take you through this next lesson, which is about lesson planning and the creation of engaging lessons and videos. Let's revise some of the key points about successful online lessons. Before we do that, let's try to put ourselves in the shoes of the students. What do they need? What did you love in school? What are the advantages of learning online? Time. Slower students can go back, listen to videos again, go over the lessons and quizzes until they understand. Quicker students don't have to wait for the rest of the class. They can help their peers, which allows them to understand the topics better. What are the needs of online teaching? Clarity, simplicity, and step-by-step explanation. We can go very deep, but we have to make sure that our students understand every little step to where we want to guide them. Another important point to keep students' attention is practical application. Generally, let's follow a principle of 30% theory, 40% practice, and 30% quizzes that ensure a student has understood. This focus on practical is very important. If students understand that they can use what they learn, they will take a greater interest and they want to go deep in their learning. The practical application can be very wide, from a range of sample exercises in the lesson where we show what they have to do in a step-by-step example and then allow students to do similar tasks. Other applications are peer-to-peer discussions on a forum or teaching someone in the community about what they have learned. For example, dental care, hygiene, or budgeting. Also, don't forget experiments with household goods, observations, virtual labs, or questions about a reading, graph, or TED Talk with sample answers on the following page. Cut your lessons down to 60 to 120 minutes learning time. This includes the introductory video, the lesson with application, and the quizzes. If the lesson refers to further reading or extra videos, why not create a new lesson from that? It is better to have less content and allow students to practice and learn one small topic in that than try to fit many different topics into one lesson. This would be overwhelming and it also doesn't allow you to dig deep. Even if the students learn at home for themselves, they always have their peers on the forum. Most of the time though, our students will be at the centers where they access internet, coaches and work with their peers. Nevertheless, create a course that is interesting to learn by oneself. Also remember that the majority of our students are girls and young women. Many of our students have lost their self-confidence because they did not do well at their national exams, which often are more focused on learning something by heart than understanding and applying a principle. This has changed in Zimbabwe, but our students may not have done a newer exam. So give them the confidence of understanding complex content by starting really simply and then slowly guide them towards a more complex content. Engage them with games, interesting examples, maybe you can even create a story around it, or by giving them the tasks rather than lecture or long texts to read. We have a logo video on the drive under templates. Please use the one for your department at the beginning of the video. We want to create a community and a brand. The video helps us to do so, and it also gives the students a few seconds to get ready to learn. A short introduction of yourself before you start into the learning will put a face to the teacher. Even if you just use the PowerPoint and record your voice later in your presentation, it would be nice to see your face in the introduction. We especially encourage our female authors to introduce themselves more thoroughly. In the first lesson, the students will meet you. Giving a bit of a background of how you made it to where you are now will encourage them. Our students need role models, and by telling them how you have become successful scientists or entrepreneurs, the students understand that they can also become scientists, teachers, entrepreneurs, or anything they want. It's okay to be experimental, just be yourself. But it will be good to put a face to a name. As authors, we don't really have personal contact with our students, but it's still important that they see there's a person behind it. Also, don't feel your video needs to be perfect. We can always improve, and it's likely we'll have to make changes based on feedback. So be courageous to just try and experiment as long as what you say is clear and legible. As you can see, my videos are also far from perfect, but I hope they bring across some of the main points and will inspire you to create your own style. Giving an overview of what is to come and connecting it with what they have already learned will help a student to get focused and link what they know to what is new. Understanding what we learn, why we learn something, is maybe the greatest motivator to become attentive. We can do that by giving them examples of application, by telling a story, or by giving them examples from their everyday lives. Let me give you a few examples. My grammar school teacher, or my grammar school education, was with a strong focus on maths and sciences. So I really adored science, and especially maths. And my mathematics teacher always started every new unit with a story and a historical background of the topic. This was, for most of us students, the most exciting part of the maths course. And it gave us the motivation to really want to solve some of the more demanding problems. In English, we started the course with a look at local idioms, sayings, legends, and fairy tales. This allowed students to go into their communities and ask their elders what legends and sayings they knew, and thus learn about their background and identity. This lesson then moved from fiction to fact and gave the students tools to distinguish fact from fiction, later also to learn the difference between implicit and explicit, as well as objective versus subjective. We gave them methods and tools to acquire a deeper understanding of language, communication, and critical thinking, which they can use in all subjects. You may have similar applications in STEM or business studies. For example, if you teach about heat in physics or about economic impact of climate change Imagine that sometimes the homes of the students don't have showers or hot water. So you can talk about how we can use the sun to heat a water tank and a hose on the roof. There's a great BBC series called People Fixing the World, where you can find short videos about simple inventions like that really made a difference. Many learners just see a problem and feel anxious about having to solve it. They can often not distinguish complex from simple, important from less relevant, nor might they be able to connect what they know from what is new. It is our job to guide them and show them what to focus on and how to connect what they learned to create a bigger picture of the world. Basically, we help them to turn data and information into comprehension and knowledge. Once they learn how to do that, they are not far from becoming innovators, scientists, or entrepreneurs. Focus is one of the greatest skills we can teach our students. Accessibility is another central point to remember. Our students often learn on small phone screen. Make illustrations and text legible. Use large fonts and strong contrasts. Also try to use as few colors as possible. While most people can distinguish a clear difference between green and red, for example, some people only see shades of gray. Also, to help people recognize our brand, we ask you to use our corporate identity colors, which are basically dark blue and white. The orange is also allowed. Best assume that our students have never heard of your topic. Some have been out of school for a while, others may not have been able to follow their teachers because they were sitting in the far back corner or because the class went on too fast. By starting at the beginning with very simple step-by-step explanations, you can be sure that you keep your students' attention and won't lose anyone on the way. From here, do make connections, interlink knowledge, and dig deep. Once students understand the significance of what they learn, they become hungry for deeper understanding. So don't shy away from digging deep. The students will thank you as they aim at good grades and are likely to depend on scholarships for university. Examples are essential for students to understand a problem from different angles. Try to bring examples from their life situations. They may not understand the significance of glaciers melting until you talk about how load shedding can lead to their fridge defrosting and their food going bad. Illustrations, animations, and videos can help visualize and understand better. Make sure that everything you use is free of copyright and the quality is good enough to read everything on a small screen. Best use your own visuals. We also have a design team who can help. Don't try to pack too much into one video. It's much better to create a number of short videos and lessons. Students sometimes don't have stable internet. Yes, they can download the videos, but they may not have memory for everything, which means they prefer to read a PDF when studying at home. Also, there are different learning styles. While some are auditive and visual learners, others can understand better when they have a written text. Quite a lot of the points here I've already mentioned. A video of you as a person presenting is preferred, but we understand that it is sometimes better to just use a voice recording. For example, if you already have visuals or if you just feel too shy to show yourself. Put as little text as possible on a slide and use large font. 20 point or more is usually good. Don't put full sentences unless you have a quote. It's better to use keywords and more slides with less text. Use contrast for better usability and accessibility. You can find our PowerPoint templates and the logo videos in the drive under templates. You should also find our corporate identity documents there. You can actually generate subtitles on YouTube. We will share a link in the lesson. The only problem is that these subtitles are often not very good, so you will have to double check them. To insert an audio, choose Insert, then go to Audio, and you can actually either take it from the file or record it. When you record it, you can afterwards choose if you want to discard it or insert it. You can listen to it, or once you insert it, you can still listen to it. You can move the symbol to wherever you want it, and you can actually even make it smaller so it doesn't disturb your video. Now for videos, you have to record them first and then upload them from your desktop and insert them. Then you can adjust the size and move them to wherever you want to have them. In the end, you can actually play. Usability and accessibility also apply to the lessons. Yet we also have to allow students to orient themselves while they read a text on their phones. This can mean that we structure the lesson well, create more paragraphs, make shorter sentences as we might in a book. It also means that we use illustrations and create new pages rather than forcing students to scroll too much. I suggest a new page for each new topic or subtopic. This will allow students also to find it easier to find an answer when they want to revise a passage. Also make a new page for your sample answers. There are many ways of giving students opportunity to apply and intellect their learning and turn information into knowledge. I've already given you a few examples. Let's look at some more. Exercise with sample answers. This is the classic, especially for maths and science. But it still is very important. After you've given instructions and examples of how to solve a problem, give a number of different but similar exercises and increase the level of difficulty. You may give hints best on a new page or as a mouse over. On the next page, you give the answers and explain how you got there. The forum. If there are tasks for peer-to-peer discussions, you can ask the students to post them on the forum. This allows them to interact. They can also post videos and any documents of any format, such as spreadsheets or graphs. This will also allow them to learn from each other's work and to work with students from different centers, even different countries. You may give them instructions for effective feedback. The tutors are expected to go through the forum and give feedback or get a discussion going with probing questions. This is a great way for students to test their abilities before they do their graded assignments. Experiments, observations, and research. Especially in science class, they may have to do experiments, analyze observations, or conduct further research. With clear instructions, students can often come up with great results which they can compare with the example you give. They may also discuss reasons for an experiment or observation having different results in the forum. So one of your team may also have to check their discussions to see if they are on the right track. In other subjects, they may rather do further research on a topic, develop their own questions, or even apply what they have learned at home, for example, a budget or marketing. Teach others. A step further from applying knowledge is to teach it to others. This is a great task. By sharing the knowledge, they bring themselves onto a higher level of understanding. At the same time, they are educating their families and community. Our students are expected to give up to 5 hours per week for volunteering to help Empower Me First and their own communities. Their work will also be shown in the semester grade as work experience and to allow them to develop interests that could lead to a career. Finally, before the quizzes, you can also add a few games. These games are especially great for revising terms and vocabulary. You can also use quiz questions for it. It's not advisable to use external links for games as they may not work well. Our students love quizzes, so let's give them what they love, as it gives them plenty chances for formal practice. Next to application, this kind of practice is super important. Make sure that you allow for as many retakes as they want, as we want them to really understand and not to rush through their learning content. Create 3 levels of quizzes: easy, intermediate, and difficult. These can be in the same quiz or in 3 different ones. Preferably keep them separate. Depending on how long the students take to do a quiz, create about 50 questions in total. At the end of a unit, create a unit quiz. You can use similar but not exactly the same questions as in the lesson quizzes. The students have to pass the unit test to be able to do their assignments. Also create a question bank from quizzes for the semester exam. This exam will be an oral test, so make sure that instead of multiple choice, you create an answer key with explanations. Our tutors have gone through the courses themselves, but still they may need a few hints. This question bank will also be used for our final exam. For all questions, lesson quiz, unit test, semester test, and final exam, we can use past papers as examples. Our students sometimes need to access content offline, so go into settings, then choose availability, and then choose show more, and then allow lesson to be attempted offline using the mobile app. If you want to change the title in the template, go into view, choose master, and then change whatever you need to change. Then you go into View and choose Normal View. Once you've finished, go to File, Export, choose MP4, then choose Internet Quality, Export.